Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Action Figure Hunting. In this video we're going to be taking a look at a place in Plymouth called Final Frontier, and as you can see this place is absolutely stacked with action figures. Tons of stuff on offer here. We'll also check out another location, and at the end of the video I'll show you what I picked up, and there'll even be some unboxing in that section as well. So I hope you enjoy. This place is really awesome. The shopkeeper here was very helpful, and they also run some events. In fact, when I arrived they were telling me about an event that was going to feature Colin Baker, who was the 6th Doctor in the original Doctor Who series. And speaking of Doctor Who, did you know I actually acted in a film alongside Sylvester McCoy, who was another Doctor Who actor? But never mind that right now. I'm on the hunt for Star Wars action figures, and I'm taking a look at a bunch of really cool Star Wars action figures in this location. Like I mentioned, this place has a lot of different stuff on offer. They have things like action figures, they have Lego, and they have a lot of comic books as well. But I'm particularly looking for Star Wars action figures, and they had a lot of that. They had a lot of that in the box and a lot of it loose as well. And as you can see, a lot of the loose stuff they had in these sealed bags, which I thought was a really neat way to display this stuff. Rather than have the figures jumbled in a container, they all were in these bags and they were all individually priced, which often I prefer because you know what you're getting and what you're paying for. Some of these figures also had the accessories included in these bags as well, which was really cool. Like I mentioned, they had a great selection here, especially of Star Wars figures, which is what I was particularly looking for. They had a lot of stuff in the box, and for newer figures I do like to grab stuff in the box, but if it's an older figure I do like to get it loose because I do open the figures up and I like to display them loose. And I will be picking up a couple of boxed figures later in the video, which I will be unboxing in this video as well, so you can look forward to that later in this video. Ultimately, you save a little bit going for figures that are unboxed, especially if you don't intend to keep the packaging, but sometimes the accessories are a little harder to find that way. But speaking of accessories, you may have noticed they did have a bag of Comlink chips, and I did pick those up, and we will be testing those later in the video as well. So, as I have mentioned, this place has a bunch of really cool stuff. They even had stands for figures, which was very nice to see, and that is something that I really do need to look into. When you have a lot of action figures on display, eventually some of them are going to fall down or not be able to stand up by themselves, and that is something I really do need to have a look at. I just need such a large amount of stands for my collection, and I also need to think about what style of stand I want for my collection. Not to sound obsessive about the matter, but I do need to think about if I want all of them to have a consistent, especially on mass base style, or if I want, let's say, the Empire to have one base style and the Rebels to have another. But Star Wars action figures aren't the only figures that I collect. I also have a wrestling figure collection and a Doctor Who figure collection as well. And my Doctor Who figures are the old figures that were made by Dapol, which was, and if you'll excuse the phrase, a long time ago and in a galaxy far, far away. And that was before the BBC took the rights back to make new figures for Doctor Who for the new revival of the show. But getting back on track, Final Frontier had a ton of great stuff, loads of action figures and loads of comic books as well, so I definitely recommend checking out this location. Another location I checked out is the Entertainer in Truro. Now I have checked out this place before, and they sell new figures here, and in particular last time I was here they had reduced some Star Wars action figures and I picked those up. And spoiler, this time they had even more on offer than they did last time I checked this place out. So eagerly I visited the Star Wars section and took a look at some of these prices. Now some of these prices have been reduced a considerable amount from when they were new, and if you are patient you can pick up figures for quite a reduction from their initial price, especially if you get them second hand, for example loose. But in this instance, this retailer did have quite a reduction on the price of a number of figures a while after they had been on the shelves, probably to clear away stock to make room for more products in the future. But regardless of the reason, they had a lot of Star Wars stuff, and in this instance they had a lot of Star Wars stuff on offer as well. Now I actually do try and collect all of my Star Wars figures in the same scale, which I know also sounds obsessive, but I try to make sure that I have all of my Star Wars figures in the same scale so they look right next to each other. So in this instance I tend to go for the 3 to 4 inch figures, the 3.75 inch figures from the Star Wars range, and I do the same thing with wrestling figures, where I go for the between 6 and 7 inch figures, the larger figures, just so everything looks around about the same size next to each other. Anyway, as you can see here, they had quite a reduction on a number of figures in the Star Wars ranges, particularly some of the newer figures from some of the new films, and this was very cool to see. They had a number of figures from these characters from the new films that I was checking out. They had a lot of characters, like multiples of the same characters for whatever reason, probably because they bought them in bulk, and they had reduced a lot of these ranges. So I definitely wanted to pick up some of these characters from some of the new films, new and in box, and fear not, I will be opening those up, unboxing those figures later in this video, so you will get to see that very shortly. However, one thing I do want to highlight very quickly is that some of these figures did have some errors with the paintwork. Now this is something that you could fix yourself by painting in and filling in the gaps if you wanted to, and that was something I was considering, but given many of these figures were very cheap to begin with, I would probably just look elsewhere for a figure that didn't have any imperfections rather than try and fix it myself, which is something I have done on figures on the past if they are a particularly good deal. But in this instance I figured that I would just find the figures that had some painting errors elsewhere, and that is something that can happen when figures are produced en masse, to be fair. Now they did also have a wrestling figure section, which looked like someone had been conducting a wrestling match because figures were all over the place. They even had some AEW All Elite figures. But anyway, let's check out what we have and check out what I picked up. So what did I pick up? Well, we're going to have a look at those right now. First of all, I picked up 2 figures from Final Frontier in Plymouth, and those were wrapped. We're going to unwrap those, and I also picked up a bag of Comlink accessories, and we're going to try those out too with the Comlink. I also picked up 2 figures from The Entertainer, the toy shop in Truro. Those were sealed, and we'll open those up as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, our first figure here is Chirrut Imwe from Rogue One, and I got this from Final Frontier in Plymouth. And most of the figures they had there that were loose were in these bags, which is a really handy way to put them on the peg and to keep them all together with their accessories, and this does include the accessory here. The stick is included, which is very cool. And just as a note, before we get too far into this, you may notice you will hear a lot of external noise. Normally I have a program on my microphone to prevent external noise or unwanted noise, but since we're going to be trying out the Comlink accessories, you're going to want to hear that through my microphone. You wouldn't hear that if I didn't have the microphone set up this way, so you're going to hear a lot of bag rustling and that sort of thing. If you're into that, that's awesome. If not, then I apologize. But this is an awesome figure to get. It was only £3, and I really like how it was packaged like this, and it's a very cool way to keep everything together and to put it onto a peg and on a shelf, so that's pretty handy. It's a little easier to grab them that way than if they're in a bin or what have you loose, and especially to keep the accessories with them, so I like that. It's like keeping them in a grip seal bag, if you will, which is something I actually do with video game controllers to keep the wires together with them. So yeah, let's open this up and take a look at this figure. Very cool to have. And the back of here is sealed very nicely, but I will get into that. I do have some scissors with me if I need that. And yes, as a reminder, you will hear a lot of noise of things opening up in this, which you normally wouldn't in my productions, because I like to keep that to a minimum. But for the Comlink, you wouldn't hear it through the microphone otherwise, so we'll get to that in a moment. But anyway, unless you really love the rustling of stuff, unless you really love that sort of thing, then there you go. But I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear me too well over it, so I hope this is good for you, my friends. Here is the figure. As you can see, there's the accessory, the stick that they have with them. And here's the figure itself. £3 was a good deal for this, I believe. Felt pretty good to pick this up for that price. Picked up 2 figures from this location, so I'll show the other figure along with that. But yeah, pretty cool. Good looking figure. Glad to have that. It's one I didn't have, so glad to add that to the collection. Here's the next figure. I believe this is a Padme figure from the prequel trilogy. Only £2 on this one. Great price again. And once again, I'm going to apologise for the sounds this is going to make opening. But wanted to open this up on camera so you guys could see it opened. Now, from the looks of it, this one might be a little... need a little cleaning. Might be a little bit scraped up, but it is a second-hand figure, of course. Unless there was supposed to be some battle damage on the figure. This is often the way, to be fair, with these figures. Often they may have a little bit of like paint imperfections, but I think I noticed on the forehead, might not come out in the camera, but I'm not sure if that's dirt. But I will give this a little bit of a clean. You'll want to clean any second-hand figure when you pick it up anyway, as a general rule. But yeah, this is a pretty cool figure to have. Didn't have this one, so I'm happy to grab that. Another figure from Final Frontier, which was an awesome place to check out. And yeah, really awesome place, very friendly staff there, so pretty cool to grab that. That's a Padme figure from the prequel trilogy. Alright, so let's move on to the bag of Comlink accessories, and this is where that sound is going to come into play. Now, for the most part, it looks to me like I don't have any doubles here. I had a lot of these for my figures back when, but I lost most of them, so I think this Darth Maul will be a double, but my original Darth Maul Comlink is a bit messed up. So my original Darth Maul, here's the Comlinks that I have. This is the like regular Comlink one, and there's another one there, and there's Greedo, and there's Darth Maul. So my Darth Maul, there's a kind of a crack in this one, so that might actually be an upgrade, which is kind of cool. Alright, so I also had the Comlink accessories you saw. This is the one I had back when. Now, to be fair, this has taken a bit of a beating. I hadn't removed the battery in this device for quite some time, so the back of this is actually pretty messed up from the battery acid leaking out into that. And I gave this a good clean, and I put a new battery in it, and it does actually seem to work, even though this compartment where the speaker sound will come from is, I could probably put some silver paint back on that and it would look almost as new again. But yeah, still seems to work for the most part. Still seems to make sound, and as a note, this is the kind of thing that you would do. You would place this.
You are no match for the Sith.
Yep, there you go. So there's the comlinks that I already had, as you saw. So a bunch of comlinks here for these characters, and as far as I know, these all work. But there is a Darth Maul that I already have here, but it will be an upgrade to get this one. So we'll open up this bag real quick, and then we will test them out. We might as well test them out as we go on this device to see if they all work properly. £5 seems reasonable. There's, you know, less than a pound Comlink here. We'll open this up and have a look at these. Pretty cool. Now, the names are on the back of all of these as well, so you know what characters they go for. And it's a nice accessory to put next to your figures as well. And as a matter of fact, having multiple Darth Mauls, I have more than one Darth Maul figure, more than one variation of that, so that's not so bad either. Alright. big bag of Comlinks. So we have a bunch of them here. I guess the first one I'll check is that Darth Maul. See if that one's working. These all look really good. These all look in like pristine condition, better than the ones I had, which were a little bit more grubby. Oh, okay. Do I need to press the button again?
You are powerless against the dark side.
Okay, user error on my part then. I thought it wasn't working, but I needed to press this button again to wake up the device. So I thought it didn't work then, but yeah, definitely works. So that's the Darth Maul one there, and you can press all these buttons and do random things, whatever they do. So yep. So anyway, Darth Maul works perfectly, so that's really good. That's one there. We'll just put that off, I guess, to the side. And let's go with some Jedi ones. We've got a couple of Jedi ones here. A couple of Anakins, Qui-Gon there. We've got a droid here, and we've got another Darth Maul. Okay, we've got another Darth Maul.
Prepare to die, Jedi.
Take that, Jedi. Lots of sound effects. Okay, right. That's not going to get annoying if you thought the rustling was bad enough. And yes, it's not actually that bad to get multiples of these, because like I said, I have multiple Darth Maul figures. He's one of my favourite characters, so that's not so bad. I can just put them next to the figures. You know, everyone's favourite characters are here, naturally. And let's try out one of the Anakin ones, the young Anakin. Blaster sound effects. Alright. Okay, that was interesting.
How do you think this trade viceroy will deal with the Chancellor's demands?
Okay, the digitized audio here is very interesting. So there you go. Let's try Qui-Gon Jinn.
These Federation birds are cowards.
Okay, all of the voices sound very similar. That's quite funny. Let's try the robot, which should sound mechanical.
Where are you taking them?
Sounds exactly the same as the other voices. And everyone's favorite character, Jar Jar Binks. Anyway, right, with that done, they all work, which is awesome. And it's good to see that this works, because like I mentioned, this was not left in the best of condition where I kind of left it idle and the battery acid leaked out of it, but cleaned it up and it still works, which is pretty cool. Comtalk, or Comlink as I was calling it earlier, they have this kind of gimmick on the current figures with a different device as well, so that's kind of interesting. But speaking of the current figures, let's go ahead and open up some of the new figures. So I picked these up from The Entertainer, which is a brand of shop that is in Truro, where I picked this up, and it's one of the places where, at least for me, I can pick up new figures, and this was ridiculously reduced. It was down to £1.50, which was crazy. And this is Qi'ra from the Solo film, and it's cool to grab this figure here, another Star Wars story. And as you can see, this does use the Force Link 2.0. I think in the background it might not have been audible in the video there, but the Comlink started making weird noises for just a second. So apologies for that. Apologies for the background noise. Whether you heard it or not, it distracted me. But anyway, maybe Jar Jar is running amok wherever I threw the Comlink device of a moment ago. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's open up this figure. It has a little accessory here as well, which I'll try not to lose. A blaster. Now, you can be very careful in opening these up and use a knife or scissors to cut around this to keep the card. I used to do that, but most of the cards that I did keep were unfortunately subject to water damage a long time ago, and I don't tend to keep the cards anymore. I will if there's like a profile or something. Some figures used to get like a profile where it says Force Link here, a piece of cardboard with a bit of information used to be here on some of the figures. And I would like to keep these, but like I said, I got this figure for £1.50. I don't essentially need to keep the back of it, and I do like to open up all of my items and use them, and it's easier to display them this way and takes less space. There are certain things I can see keeping in the box if the box can kept to display them a little bit easier, but for this one, definitely just opening it up. Alright, let's get this out of here. So there's the figure of Chirrut with the blaster, which is covered by sellotape. It's a very small blaster, so I will try not to lose that, but there's that. And here's the figure themselves. You're going to hear a lot of external noise here, I apologise for that. Alright, there's that figure there. And the blaster, which I suppose we could put in their hand. There you go. Good looking figure. I haven't done that properly at all right there. There we go, that's better. Paintwork is very good on this figure. I was going to pick up another figure, but the paintwork around the hair was off. And like I alluded to earlier, sometimes that can be the case with action figures when they are assembled paint-wise by assembled and painted by machines for the most part. The paint will sometimes not cover the sections it is supposed to, and for sure you could paint over and repaint certain sections of figures yourself to fix them, but I think it's easier just to find one that is good. Unless it's a really good deal, then you could probably paint it yourself. So this figure looks pretty good, like that, very detailed. The jacket does not come off, but very good looking figure with the pistol that I will try not to lose. The next figure here is a Rey figure, and this one is in this kind of sand attire, if you will, to protect you from the dunes. The packaging here is a little bit different, and there's the back of that one with a phone application, it would seem, for the figures to do certain things. Download the app here that does something to make videos with your toys. Isn't that what I'm doing right now? I mean, to be fair, I am using an app for my phone to work with the program I'm recording it with. So there you go. And alright, let's open this up. So I'm actually recording this with an open broadcast software OBS app on my phone, and then I have that connected via USB to my open broadcast software on my computer to record this, but that's a little unnecessary. I could just probably record this on my phone, but I want to use my PC's microphone, which I mentioned there was a audio effect that I'm not using right now, so you're going to hear some extra noise. That's a long explanation. Get on with it, MVL, I hear you say in my mind. Open up the figure. So this is a different box, so there's no way I think I'm going to open this without ruining it. Actually, I probably could have opened this without ruining it, because I probably could have got this out easier. So I probably could have kept this card, if I wanted to. Alright. I will say, actually, this one probably opened up a little bit easier than the last one. There's that. And there are some extras in here. Projectile firing. Alright, I'm probably going to lose one of these accessories. There's a lot of accessories in this figure. This was £3, by the way. Reduced, I think, from 9. So they had reduced more stuff since the last time I was there. It's a little piece of paper about how to use something or something. And there's another piece of cardboard in there, but never mind that. There's the figure itself with a staff here, which is held in place by sellotape. So I will try and get that out with my nails. Alright. There's the accessory removed. I like the larger accessories, they're harder to lose. There's a lot of accessories here, actually. There is a backpack, which probably fits on their back. There is... This is actually kind of rubbery, actually. The top of this is kind of rubber, which is interesting, rather than hard plastic. The bottom of it is hard plastic, because that's probably what's going to connect into the device that fires it out of. There is this. Alright. These will connect somehow in some way, but I don't know how. That's why I should have kept the instructions. Oh, I see. Right, okay. I put that in there, and it fires out of there somehow? Do I just, like, do it myself by popping that out? Okay. Don't know how that works. But there you go. Interesting accessory. That's why you should keep the instructions when you're looking at something, and when you're unboxing it for the first time on a video, it makes you not look foolish. Right, let's have a look at the figure. Good looking figure. I'm not sure if this sash comes off. Oh, I suppose it wouldn't come past the head. So yeah, this is a separate piece here, this sash here. Interesting. I suppose maybe if the head pops off, but then you don't really want to do that if the head doesn't come off. Some figures you can remove like the head and put a different head on. I don't think that is the case here, but this is a separate piece here, this chest section. Pretty good looking figure though, good detail. Most of the paintwork here, there's like a little bit of paint on the leg where it's gone awry there. But for the most part, this one's pretty well done. And I think this is the only one of this figure that they had left at the time. So it's cool to pick that up. So there you go. There's a look at the figures I picked up in this video of action figure hunting. So there you have it. Those are all of the figures I picked up in this episode of Action Figure Hunting. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like or a comment to let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. Thank you for watching. I've been MVL, and I will catch you next time.